To my podcast about sports, about sports, about sports.
Bidi-bidi-bop-bop. Bidi-bidi-bop-bop. Howdy, Ags. Welcome to the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Today's sponsor is Pacini Tax Controversy Group. If you have problems with the IRS, call PTCG for help. Experienced, passionate, dedicated tax attorney. Visit the website at PaciniTaxGroup.com or call the office at 210-420-9586. Folks, don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Get onto the YouTube, subscribe. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about the Aggie football team this week, and what you think about them going forward. Today's show, UTSA recap, Utah State preview, a little bit of week one college football takeaways. Corey's out today. Got injured over the weekend. And it's day to day. So next week we hope to have him back. First of all, man, let me just say what a weekend of college football it was, my friend. It was great to get this thing started. We're gonna get into some of the big games later. Obviously, we're gonna talk a lot of A&M here in a minute. But man, it was just exciting to get going. Full slate of games all day. I mean, pretty much all weekend, right? I mean, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Holy cow. It was great. Saturday was awesome. Some incredible results. We'll get into some of those. Um, there's it's week one, right? I mean, so there's a lot of things that we don't know. After week one, there's a lot more things we don't know. We still don't know a lot of things, and all these teams obviously have a lot of work to do to go move forward. Some of them are going to do that with a little bit more excitement this week than others, and including the Aggies, who have a lot to work on. So let's start there. Let's start with Texas A&M, who this weekend, Kyle Field at 6 p.m. on ESPN. Uh, UTSA came into town. The Aggies came out and put on a win there, 42 to 24 Aggies. Now, pretty much what I called last week in the pod. I think I said 42 to 21. Some of the issues that we talked about popped up in defensively. Um, but I think we saw something completely different on offense, unexpected. So it was 21-10 at half. It was 21-14 in the second half. Marcel overall, 22 of 34, 289 yards, four touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers, eight carries for 39 yards. He was good. He was solid. He made some nice plays. He was not great. But he was good, solid, good, nice plays, right? This is UTSA. So he has got to start getting better. Concepcion, three catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Real nice punt return for a touchdown. That was huge. The first score for the Aggies this year. Craver was a monster with 8 for 122 and two touchdowns. I thought the tight ends played a good game. Six catches for 73 yards. They got involved. All three, Berkature, Theo, Nyblock, all three got into it. And so I thought they did a good job. I also thought they did a pretty good job in the run game as far as the blocking and things that they were doing. Rushing, 22 rushes for 110 yards and a touchdown as an offense. Mind you, eight of those were Marcel. um, that is unexpected, if you ask me. So let's start off. We're gonna go Aggie offense, right? And let's start off with that right there, that number. And I think the most surprising thing we saw from this offense is exactly that. The the lack of a running game to a certain extent, right? And they did when they ran the football, they had a little bit of success, but they never had a great deal of success. There wasn't consistency in and out, down in, down out. They weren't able to just line up and pound the football. It's very discouraging because as this season goes along, they're going to have to get a lot better. You would think with this offensive line where it was, they did not look great. They did not look great up front. They didn't look physical up front. I think the biggest thing that I took from this game with this offense is that it was very much a finesse offense, and it was about getting the ball out into space and letting guys make plays with their legs because they're fast, a lot of speed on the field, a lot of playmakers. Not physical though. This offense was not physical. The offensive line not physical. It's not like they were dominating up front, creating big holes. They were sitting there catching defensive linemen basically and just catching them and just creating, seams by positioning. It wasn't physicality. It was just getting in the way. Just getting in the way. They only ran the football when the numbers were really on their side for the most part. Um, I, I, my biggest takeaway for this offense was they're not physical right now. In spite of everything we've talked about throughout the offseason about this offensive line, about this running game, about these running backs that didn't show up. And we can't blame it on the tight ends, as we have in the past said that, these tight ends didn't block great. That wasn't the problem. The tight ends I thought did a pretty good job. We played with a lot of two tight end sets, some three tight ends at times. Um, and I just I just didn't see it. I didn't see that from this offensive line consistently to where they were just dominating up front against a defense, obviously, that had a bunch of new pieces and and had some struggles last year, obviously, as they went through the season. So it's a little bit of a concern. I'd say more than a little bit of a concern uh, that this offense did come out and struggle as much as it did. They scored 42 points, right? But remember, seven of those were on a kickoff or on a punt return. And so, they weren't as explosive as you think they would be. They had some nice pass plays. Marcel had some nice pass plays. He got the ball out a lot quickly. There was some nice plays where he had a pretty good pocket. Offensive line did a good job in protecting him. But once again, that's kind of the more softer side of the offensive line play, right? That's not the physicality of the run game and all those types of things. I really thought that they didn't look great in in sort of the power running game and trying to get the ball downhill. Um, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned about an offensive line that Uh, brings back a ton of starts, brings back a ton of talent, and and they sort of came out in week one, and they've got a lot of things to work on. We'll see. We'll see, right? It's week one, right? So they can get better, and they will get better. Uh, but I think you got to start seeing it right away in week two. Honestly, it's somewhat the character of this team because of the fact that they do so much in RPOs, and Elko talked about it after the game that some of these pass plays were RPOs, right? Run pass options, where they're putting in the gut of the running back, and he's reading somebody and then letting the ball go. A lot of times on a little slant behind it, or some of those bubbles as well. We saw a lot of those, and they ended up throwing the football. But when your identity is RPOs, your offensive line isn't as aggressive as it normally would be because they can't be downfield. They can't be downfield. So all of a sudden, you're taking some of that aggressiveness out of your offensive line, right? You're taking some of that away by scheme. And now you got to make sure that you get that back. You got to go back and reevaluate what's going on there because you got to get that back. You got to get this offensive line to be physical again. Because when it matters the most, when it's third down and short, fourth down and short, you got to have guys up there that are physical and just road graders, right? You need to be able to get those first downs in those situations. What they do on the goal line? Well, they play action, Marcel out, booted, and the tight end threw it to the tight end in the flats for a touchdown, on short yardage. Maybe that's what they're going to be doing all year long. I don't know. I wouldn't, based off of what I saw today, on Saturday, I wouldn't hand it off behind them because that offensive line was getting its butt whooped in that sense, right? They weren't the more physical group up there. I am concerned. Is that end all be all for this season? No, it's not it. We've got a long ways to go. It's week one. There's a lot to do here. Um, and there was a lot of things to be pleased with. I thought Marcel did a pretty good job of reading the defense, going from uh, first read to second read, third read at times. Obviously, the one big one, it was the one over the top to Concepcion. He just missed it. I thought he he just didn't set his feet and throw right. And so, that was the one big one, but that one's the only one, right? I mean, there was several others that I thought he didn't really set his feet and throw and deliver a good ball on. So, so he had a couple, but then he also had some really nice ones, right? He had some real nice balls to Concepcion on the slants. He had some real nice balls to Craver, even though they were short for the most part. Berkature, a couple of nice throws to Berkature into the tight ends, in the middle of the field where he made some nice throws there. So there were some good things from Marcel. There was some bad things. There was some times when he took off running, which I liked. There was a couple of times he took off running, which I thought maybe he could have held it a little longer and see if something comes open, right? He didn't really have like a huge explosive play with his legs. But once again, the field seemed to be pretty condensed for him. Um, so, some ups, some downs for Marcel. Uh, he's got a long ways to go to get to the point where I think he can get. And I do think that uh, Colin Klein has to do a better job also of making sure that that happens. But they've got to be able to establish the run a little bit more. I think they've got to be able to get it going, make plays on the ground, do it where it's not even an RPO because they just want to run the football and get some physicality in there. They want to get the offensive line playing physical from the get-go. We'll see if they do some of that, some adjustments there against Utah State in that sense. Let's talk about the running backs. Moss, only 3 carries for 19 yards. Owens, 5 carries for 37 yards, right? They had EJ Smith get in there. They had Maury Daniels get in there. Jamari Morrow, who had a couple passes thrown his way. So they went 5 deep at the running back. I like that. I want to see, and maybe it's not week 2, Utah State. Maybe it's week 3. I want to see Le'Veon in there pounding the rock. Look, we they gave it to Owens a few times inside. I still think that he lacks some physicality as well. He's not the most physical back out there. You can see him kind of tippy-toeing through the holes. I wasn't terribly impressed with what he showed Saturday against UTSA. So we'll have to see how the season keeps going. I think that in the run game, Amari Daniels is a bigger threat, especially some of the inside run stuff. I thought he looked decent in the few carries that he got. I thought he made a couple of nice plays and had some good gains there. But ultimately, this team is going to have to get Le'Veon Moss going, and that means that he's going to have to get carries. He's going to have to get carries, and if you're throwing the ball, you know, they probably call. I mean, there's 34 passes, and there's a few more that he took off running on. Now, mind you, some of those were RPOs, so I think all in all, they need to do a better job of making sure that they're distributing that ball a little bit better between that run and pass, where situations where the defense can't dictate that to you, but when you do run the football, you have to be more physical. Um, they were 3 of 11 on third down, not great, right? Meaning oftentimes they probably didn't do a very good job on first and second down. So I thought that this offense really left a lot on the field. I thought that the offense left a lot to be desired. I thought the offense has to get significantly better. Now, mind you, it's week 1. So we're not, you know, sounding the alarms. We're not saying, this team is horrible. We're not saying any of those things. I just think that offensively, they've got a lot of progress to make, which is okay in week one, right? You should have a lot of progress to make in week one. We'll see how they come out in week two. We'll talk a little bit more about Utah State here in a little bit. And then obviously the big one in week three against Notre Dame, when they better be rolling, right? They better be rolling. So offensively, a lot to work on. Physicality up front is no, I think is number one. I think two, play call wise, you have to be able to run the football, right? And continue to implement some of the things that you were doing with the pass game. And I think you still can bring in some more maybe misdirection type stuff going deep and stuff like that. But different things that they didn't necessarily need to show in week one. The offense did fine, 42 points, beat a good UTSA team. So you take that. Let's move over to the other side of the ball. And let's take a small stop here on special teams because I thought special teams was phenomenal, in all honesty. I really did. Concepcion is a return guy. Bussy is a return guy. Those two guys are just animals back there. I also think offensively, Bussy needs to get some more touches. I thought he did a great job, by the way, backing up. Great job by those wide receivers and the tight ends in blocking for the little short passes and things like that. I thought Bussy did a really good job. I thought Nyblock did a great job out there blocking Burkature. So lots of positives in that area. Uh, Bethel Roman, I thought was a phenomenal blocker out there. And now continue to do those things. And now let's get him the ball as well. So some things you can implement through that process. Special teams, man, the return game looked explosive. It's going to be dangerous all year long. I think people are going to have to make decisions about where they're kicking this football, and especially because there's a ton of effort around those guys with regards to the return game, the guys that are blocking for them and things like that, man. I'm excited to continue to see those guys. Concepcion with the touchdown, that was huge. That dude's a playmaker. You can already see it. Craver, playmaker, you can see it. Bussy, playmaker, you can see it. So that's exciting. Let's move on to this defense, right? Because I think this is where the bigger concerns are. Once again, we talked about it before, right? What's this defense going to do? What are they going to do about the big plays? What are they going to do about the big plays in the run game? Is Mike Elko going to be able to make a difference here? And week one, no, he wasn't. Look, they gave up 203 yards rushing on 33 carries. Henry, the tailback, was 16 carries for 177 yards, two touchdowns, 15-yard run, a 13-yard run on third down in the second quarter there, a 22-yard run, and a 75-yard run touchdown. I mean, these are big runs all in one game against UTSA, a team which, yes, brought back a lot of returning guys on offense and it's an explosive offense and all these different things. But that's kind of the point. This isn't even a running team. And they were able to gash you with that run game. And that is a problem. Mike Elko has got a serious, serious problem on this defense right now because in 2 weeks, you're going to face Notre Dame. And I promise you, even though they didn't show it this week, Notre Dame will be trying to run the football against the Aggies. Why? Because you just saw what this Aggie defense is doing against the run right now. If you think that Henry, this tailback for UTSA, can go for 177, what do you think Jeremiah Love can go for? Don't and I'm not stopping with Notre Dame because UT's going to do the same thing. Florida's going to run the football. Auburn's going to run the football. Auburn, who just ran the football all over Baylor, right? So these are teams that are going to sit there and just put it on their running game and force you to do something about it. And as of right now, this Aggie defense didn't do anything about it. Yeah, sure, they won. But they gave up 24 points to this UTSA team. 24 points. Um, However you slice it, that's not great. 177 yards, two touchdowns for the lead back. Not great. 75-yard touchdown, 15-yard touchdown. 22-yard run, right? 13-yard run. All these guys, big plays in the run game. You go watch them. That one where the back breaks. So first, they bring the motion across, and Chappelle comes with it. And then they come in and basically don't do anything on the back end. They're able to outflank you from the formation, right? Where they're tight end, they got two tight ends out there, and they tight end sits there, seals the end. Other guy gets up to linebacker. There's nobody out there. You're beat by formation. By formation. That's horrible defensive play calling. That is a bad defense coordinator to allow that to happen. That is a bad defensive coordinator that allows that to happen. Mike Elko did not earn his paycheck on Saturday in that play right there. And then, of course, yeah, your corner gets blocked. Your corner gets blocked with they got a lead blocker out there. And your safety, Ratcliffe, takes a bad angle on top of it. Okay. So that gets you beat. That gets you beat. Ratcliffe had a couple of times when the ball bounced and he had a bad angle on the outside because this defense, like we've talked about before, Elko asked those safeties to be the overlap player on the edge. Well, when Hal continuously comes inside, Hal continuously comes inside on the run and they get beat outside, it is that safety that has to be there. He wasn't. He wasn't there on multiple occasions, and that's where those big runs get created. I it's over and over again. It's the same crap. This is a bad scheme against a team that's going to push the ball in on the ground game, especially in situations where it's third and medium to third and long, and they're going to run the football because they come in and they give up the inside lane and overload one side. Well, the other side's wide open. That's not sound football. I'm sorry. And if it's third and 20, understand. But if it's third and 10, then that offense just got a first down because you called a crap play, right? And where does this stem from? It stems from the fact that we saw it on Saturday. You can't get pressure with your front four. You can't get pressure. How Onyenin, Hayes, and Regis, not a single one of those guys can get pressure. Bring in Hicks. Not a single one of those can get pressure. Hicks had one later on where he got a little bit of pressure. Those guys didn't get pressure consistently. You know, Kennedy had the one sack. You didn't get anything from your defensive line. You didn't get anything from your defensive line. No big plays from your defensive line. They couldn't get off a block. They couldn't get off a block at all. Not in the run game, not in the pass game. There's your problem. You want to have a problem for this year? That's your problem. Your defensive line, who had guys last year that could get off blocks, but a scheme that didn't allow them to go get tackles, now has a scheme that won't allow them to go get tackles and can't get off blocks. That's a problem. You need to get those guys on the field that can go get it. Because right now, that defensive line, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it against a team like Notre Dame. It's not going to do it against a team like Texas, Florida, Auburn. I mean, just keep adding them up. Missouri, for that matter, LSU. Um, so you, if you don't fix that, there's a problem. There's going to be a problem all year. They were not good up front. Big plays in the run game. Scheme was a problem. Contain was a problem. Man, Howell and Ratcliffe both several times. Go back and look at the tape because I did. Go back and look at the tape. Look and see how many of those runs that bounce outside. It's not Howell coming inside, and where he starts outside, he works his way in, and they just bounce it out, and Ratcliffe's not there. Um, bad angles by the safeties, and at times by the linebacker. I thought York still looked slow to the hole at times. Yeah, he led this team in tackles, but if it's not where he first, man, if it's not where he first sees it, it's like he doesn't see it. I don't know what's going on there. Um, yeah, they had to blitz. They had to blitz all day in order to try to get pressure, and it backfired on them because it gave up the big runs most of the time. Uh, the secondary, I don't know, Rick, Des Ricks was okay. he had a nice couple of nice plays, but every time you see him and they throw the ball his way, it's like 50-50 chance they're going to throw a flag because his feet aren't working. His feet aren't working. When they come back to the ball, his feet don't come back. His head doesn't ever turn. He's always in, in the receiver, 100%. No ball skills whatsoever. Uh, Lee, I thought had a decent day. He had a couple, he gave up a couple, but at least he had a pretty good day for the most part. Um, I thought that Ratcliffe had a good day at times, but in his angles were way off. Um, you know, Tyreek, Tyreek was good. He was good. He was good, especially in the run game or in the short pass game. The screen stuff. Boy, I thought he was excellent. Excellent. Scooby, thought Scooby was pretty good especially in a lot of the short pass game stuff and things like that. But in the run game, so I don't know. You got a lot to work on defensively. Boy, 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 boy. A lot to work on defensively after this week. Um, I don't, obviously it's like I said earlier, this is not a this is not a situation where we're saying, oh, it's over, season's over, blah, 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 we're done, what another. No, 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 really, it's not, right? It just means that they've got a lot of work to do from week one to week two and week two to week three, because by the time we face Notre Dame, a lot of these things have got to be at least better, at least better. They may not be perfect. They may not be perfect, but they definitely have to be better. So we got to see that. We got to see that happen. All right. How does this defense improve against Utah State? How does it improve against Notre Dame? Those are going to be the big things. So let me know what you guys think about this performance. Um, if you go back and watch, I think you'll see a lot of what I said. Let's talk a little bit about Utah State, 11:45 a.m. at Kyle Field on SEC Network this coming week. Look, at UTEP, they just beat UTEP, Utah State did, so they're better than probably better than last year already. 28-16. UTEP had 6 sacks on them. See if the Aggies can have anywhere near that. We'll see it. Um, so look, we talked about it, right? This is a team that wasn't really good last year. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the country. They were, decent offensively, but they lost their quarterback, 1,000-yard back, so on and so forth. So there's an entire new offense there, um, entirely new defense. They got a guy, Miles Davis, a tailback, and he's going to get lots of touches. And so if you want the key to the game, find Miles Davis. Defensively, you got to find that dude and make sure that you're containing him. He's going to get touches in the run game. He's going to get touches in the pass game. They're going to get him the ball out in space, and I think he's got the ability to make some plays. So that's what this defense has got to focus in on. It's going to be another test to see whether we've corrected some of the problems as far as the big run plays, so on and so forth. So Utah State, what do I expect? I think this Aggie team comes out against Utah State and has a better showing offensively, especially in the run game. Um, I do expect that they're able to establish the run some more, which maybe sort of changes the momentum a little bit for that defense, keeps the defense off the field some. Um, and so I expect it to be, I don't know, more of a maybe still right around 42 and 17, 42 to 17. I don't think this Utah State offense is as good as the UTSA offense is, but then again, I mean, they may slow it down. The Aggies may slow it down enough to where it's, 35-17 or something like that, right? So um, I hope that it's more 42 to 10, that the defense looks stronger. I hope that the offense looks more physical, that the defense looks more physical too. That's what I expect from this game against Utah State. I'm going to spend a lot of time on Utah State. This is another game that doesn't, they're not really going to challenge this Aggie. team. Um, but I think what they will try to do is get the ball to that tailback, let him make plays for him, see if they can create some plays there to some big plays, right? Um, in that area. Uh, around the country this past week, a lot of good football. If you weren't paying attention, man, you missed it. To start it all, start off the day on Saturday. Texas goes to Ohio State. That offense looks horrible. Both offenses really look not so good. The Ohio State defense looked like it was flying around like crazy. They win 14-7 at home. Um, I mean, I don't know. Look, all day we've talked about it. Arch, a little overhyped, way overhyped, right? Guy's young. This is the first real start of so they got a long ways to go. Defensively, they look pretty good. Texas, right? They look pretty good. We'll see how everything develops. That team is gonna get better. But I think one of the things that everybody's forgetting to talk about is it wasn't all Arch. Everybody's talking about Arch. Oh my God, he's so horrible. Look, you look at a team that now has lost, I don't know, six, eight wide receivers and tight ends over the last 2 years, a bunch of offensive linemen this past year. Like he didn't have those same kind of weapons around him as Quinn had a year ago, right? And I think it showed. And I think this team as a whole is going to have to do a better job around Arch to get things going offensively. Not, they also went into the horseshoe, and Ohio State pretty good defense, so all that plays into it. I wasn't all that impressed with Ohio State's offense either. Thought it was so-so. But look, both of these teams got a path to the playoff. Uh, I'm not sure. I don't think both of them make it. I'll just say that. I don't think both of them make it. At this point, I think Texas got a long road to do that. Ohio State's got a little bit better trajectory now that they've won this first game, right? Iowa State goes 2-0 in the first week. That's pretty good. Boise State gets absolutely whooped by USF. They're pretty much out of contention. I think, that offense looked horrible. LSU beats Clemson. LSU beats Clemson, 17-10. Unexpected for me. I thought the experience for Clemson coming back was going to be a big strength for them. They did not show it. That offense looked horrendous. LSU's offense didn't look great either, but they did what they had to do. Um, Nuss, when I mean made some plays there, the guy still can do that. Florida State beats the mess out of Bama, 34-17. I'm pretty sure that the Bama faithful are ready to run DeBoer out of town, so be ready for that. He's obviously not getting fired quite yet, but maybe he should. They didn't. It seemed like they didn't even show up or practice. Practice just stopping a mobile quarterback, which is interesting because that guy was talking shit all offseason. So that was an interesting one. And then Notre Dame loses to Miami. Look, and that's a blow to the Aggies for sure. Because we face them in a couple weeks, and so that's not going to help our push to the playoffs. But on the other hand, if we can go win that game at Notre Dame, that'd be big. I'm not real sure exactly what was going on in that game in the sense that, Jeremiah Love didn't really have much of a presence there. So, Miami had a couple of wide receivers make some big plays, one-handed catch. Oh my goodness. But that's a big win for Miami. They were at home. It was week one. We'll see how that all progresses. Notre Dame gets the bye week, and then we face them in week three at their place. That's a big one. So um, keep keep up with that. We'll talk more about that next week, obviously. All right, some questions from the tailgate brought to you by Matthews Electric, full service electrical contractor in the Brazos Valley. No job too big, no job too small. Call Blaine at 979-220-6403. Light up your home, light up your life. After watching week one, are you higher or lower on the Aggies? I mean, I really thought going into the season this team had a chance to do some things, um, and make the playoffs and make a run even in the playoffs, right? But after week one, I'm not sure. So I guess I'm lower. Do I think they could still do some things? Yeah, I think they still can. They got a lot to work on. I just didn't see the physicality from a team that I thought would be physical. I thought this team was gonna be the basis of this team was the physic was gonna be the physicality, the run game, the run defense, you know. And I thought that they were really gonna get into that mentality that's gonna push them over the top. I didn't see that. I didn't think they were consistent. I didn't think they were consistent enough or physical enough to really make that step. We'll see how they come out next week and what progress they make. We'll see how they come out in week 3, more importantly, and what progress they make. But as of right now, I'd say I'm taking a step back from a 10-2 season. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a lot of improvement for this team to get to a 9-3, I think. Um, and I think that's a problem for Mike Elko. And I do. I think that's a problem for Mike Elko. Well, he's got to show his coaching chops now. It's up. It's on him to make this go in the direction that we want it to go. And we'll see what happens. He's got the talent there. I think they've shown it. Now what do they do with it? Uh, what are the top things that need to be taken care of before Notre Dame? I just talked about it, right? Physicality. That's one. Physicality on defense and on offense, and the run defense, the overall run defense. Obviously, they give up those big plays against Notre Dame. That's gonna be a problem. Jeremiah Love will definitely hurt you. So the run defense is huge. But I think more than just the run defense, I think it's the physicality of the team in general, offensively and defensively. Can the offensive line become a much more physical threat up front? Take some, go in there and start moving some people, mauling some folks. Can the defensive line get in there and start making some plays because they didn't on Saturday? They didn't on Saturday. Can they get in there and start making plays? Make a difference. I mean, whatever you've got to do to start making this team more physical, just get in there and I mean, you gotta start doing it, right? It's right now they were soft. They were soft defensively and offensively, I thought. And so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they can do there. Guys, another great weekend of college football coming up. Make sure you're paying attention. Let me know what's going on in your head. Uh, Give me some commentary on the YouTube. Gig 'em Aggies, AP, out from the tailgate.